welcome to 5280 Film Room. We're a Colorado sports podcast by fans for fans, and this is our first ever fantasy football podcast. I'm Alyssa.
Back.
I'm Gideon.
I'm Miles.
And I'm Jordan.
Today we're going to talk a little fantasy football. To give you some context, the four of us are in a league that drafts tomorrow. With 8 of our nearest and dearest friends. So it is a 12-man league. We are in a single-point PPR league, standard NFL.com fantasy shenanigans. Yep.
Yeah, whatever.
You know. So my first question is, from a positional standpoint, what is your strategy and approach to the first 3 rounds of the draft? Gideon.
Oh, I don't want to go first.
Jordan.
So positionally, I always go running back heavy, and I feel like this year there are a lot of good running backs in the first 3 rounds. So I think by the end of the 3rd round, I'm going to have at least 2 running backs, maybe 3. We'll see. Just because
you're going to go running back?
It's possible.
Money stack.
Right?
He lives on the edge.
Shore up RB1, RB2, and the flex.
Well, and the thing with running backs is it's stacked at the top, and then there's a pretty drastic drop-off. So going running back heavy early on is a little bit of a fail-safe system, in my humble opinion.
There's also the trade bait.
Yeah.
Shore up the top, some of the top running backs, and then you can use that as trade
Move
leverage.
them and better your team.
Mm-hmm. As a whole.
Based on what you need after the draft.
Yeah. I mean, I think we can all agree that it'll all really come down to what position you're drafting at.
Oh, yeah.
But obviously there's a baseline that you kind of want to stick to. For me, I think it would be PPR's definitely more geared towards the skill players. I don't necessarily know if I would go as running back heavy as you, Jordan. Definitely at least 1 running back, 1 wide receiver. But depending on where it falls.
Like if you're number 4.
I was going to say, don't tell me I'm number 8.
Well, that's the opposite side. In a 12-man league, it's
exactly.
8 and 4 is exactly the same.
Well, we were talking about it earlier as far as we don't necessarily want to positionally be in the first round higher than 6. Now, you can still draft a great team being higher than 6, but it does take a little bit more finesse. As far as first 3 rounds,
you're not looking
cut and
bad
dry.
at number 8.
No, you're not.
You can still get a Saquon Barkley.
You can, yeah.
Well,
Maybe.
I don't know.
In my mock drafts, he's been going 8 through 10 in a 12-man league.
Yeah, 12-man league, but that's also not the live draft that we're doing tomorrow with our group of friends that know.
It's also Denver heavy.
Yes. Anyways, getting back to my 3-round projection, running back, wide receiver, and then honestly, if there's a tight end there, one of the top 2 or 3, if it's Gronk, Ertz, or Kelsey, I would take a tight end.
Okay.
Given the fact that it's PPR. If it wasn't PPR, I probably would throw a quarterback in.
But if you're drafting
I'm just saying non-PPR quarterback.
Yeah.
But if you're drafting 4, there's no way Gronk will be there in the 3rd round.
For sure.
Would you take him in the 2nd round on the
high 2nd round?
Yeah, it would be,
Depending on what positional players
late
are.
2nd round.
Yeah, depending on what positional players have fallen off. I mean, he might be the top player just in general at that point. I don't know.
So, like, let's say you get David Johnson.
I've done 0 mock drafts, so I'm fresh out of the gate.
Going in on
coming out hot. Let's go.
The thing that's tricky with, we do a snake draft. So if you're drafting 1, you've got a long time to wait before your next pick.
You see a lot of guys fall off the board.
Exactly. And I think there's a bit of a risk to taking best available. because I do think leaning positionally tends to favor you in the long run. I know in those first 3 drafts, I want to walk away with 2 running backs and 1 wide receiver. You kind of thrown a wrench into my thoughts with if there is one of those lights out, money making magical tight ends. I might do that in place of a wide receiver. I feel like there's a lot of quality wide receivers to be taken this year.
I mean, if you're thinking about it, would you rather have Devontae Adams, AJ Green, Travis Kelce, or Gronk?
Ooh,
Gronk.
Between those,
So easy for
Yeah.
me.
You're also
Gronk.
hanging up like some very consistent receivers that get 10 targets a game.
See, and that's the thing. Is it just
Minimum.
that Gronk's the glamorous pick because he's Gronk?
He gets touchdowns.
But at the end of the day, will Devontae Adams actually be more productive?
He might get 3 touchdowns.
It's very probable.
Yeah.
And that's where you get caught up in fantasy football. I am guilty as charged of falling for glamour players.
well, and the thing with Gronk is, if he's on the field, he's gonna score points.
If
You don't-
he's on the
You don't
field.
have to worry about him though. So if he's injured, let's say he misses 2 games, you pick up another tight end, play him. But if he's on the field, you just know he's gonna score points. So he is a safe bet, even though he's injury prone. Because if he's
the dude's going to play
playing-
half the season.
yeah,
He's going to be a monster.
yeah, and those
The
games
8
that you
games
know
that he
he's gonna
plays.
play,
Yeah.
like you don't have to worry about him.
He's gonna
being
put-
in the game.
If he's playing 8 games in the year, he's going to put 16 games of work into those 8 games.
Right.
Exactly.
Like-
That's a great point.
Exactly. And you look at like Devontae Adams. I'm pretty high on Devontae Adams, but I don't know how the Packers' offense is going to look. Just because Aaron Rodgers, he was injured for most of last
He
year.
might have a new favorite target.
Jimmy Graham.
We'll see. Yeah, I don't
Right?
know.
I know. I mean, Adams is going to be the number 1 wide receiver. So as long as Aaron Rodgers is healthy, I think Adams will have a great year.
And they still got Randall Cobb, too. So the
Yeah.
addition of Jimmy Graham is just going to supplement the threats that they have on the receiving side. I think the real question in Green Bay is going to be on the running back side. Is Ty Montgomery going to be able to handle the load, or are they going to have to look to Aaron Jones? Or is it just going to be a split backfield where it's like, who's not tired, and what position are we in the game, and who's going to be best suited to complete the plays that we need to make to win this game?
Well, I think Ty Montgomery proved last year that like he's an okay running back, but he's a really good pass receiving running back.
So where would you want to draft Ty Montgomery on your team? Like if you personally, Jordan, if you're going running back, there's no room for Ty Montgomery.
I mean, I'm not taking him in the first 3 rounds.
You're not
He
taking
could-
him at
well,
all.
He could be a bye week. Bench
Would-
No,
player.
he's-
Jordan, would you draft Ty Montgomery? Period. Going running back for the first 3 rounds.
No, because I'm not taking him in the first 3 rounds.
No,
No.
I was
I'm saying with you taking 3 running backs in the first 3 rounds, none of which are Ty Montgomery. Later on in the draft, I don't care where.
Oh, yeah.
Do you draft Ty Montgomery if he's available to you?
Oh yeah, if he was there in the 8th round, I would take him.
He's not going to
4
be
running
there
backs
in
Yeah,
in
the
he's
8
not
rounds
gonna be
is
there.
pretty solid.
Yeah, right. Like if he's like he's.
You were kidding, running back
like,
heavy.
I think he's gonna be their 3rd round or their 3rd down back. So he'll get a lot of receptions, which he'll be valuable in PPR. But I don't think he'll get a lot of rushing yards. So
PPR, he does have a little bit more upside for sure.
Yeah. I just
I
don't
don't
see
know.
him as like an actual running back where he can run through the tackles. Like,
He's got the stature for it, but his jersey number says otherwise.
Yeah.
Well, and my thought with the Packers, specifically, since we're talking about them, is looking at the red zone. Who do I believe will be the red zone threat? And in that case, I'm leaning towards Jimmy Graham.
I wouldn't necessarily lean towards Jimmy Graham. I would Aaron Rodgers. Doesn't matter.
He knows who to go to.
Yeah.
Obviously.
I mean,
I think
if we're talking skill
tell
positions,
me if I'm wrong. Is Aaron Rodgers all of our first choice for quarterback?
Not me.
Who's yours?
Russell Wilson. Because he gets the rushing yards too.
Okay.
Well,
Okay.
He's my first pick for quarterback.
Rodgers?
Aaron Rodgers is, yeah.
Aaron.
Yep. Relax.
Because Russell Wilson, I don't remember the exact number, but the Seahawks, they scored like 25 touchdowns, whatever it was. Russell Wilson did not account for one of them. Like, he either threw for it or ran for it. So, like, he is their offense. So that's why he's my number one.
And they lost a lot on the defensive side, so that's going to put even more pressure on him on the offensive side to produce.
Yeah, he's going to have a lot more work. And he finished as the number one quarterback last year.
And especially if he's fighting from behind. I mean, I'm not saying the Seahawks are going to be bad, but there's going to be real situations where they're going to be down by 2 or 3 touchdowns. And that's going to put Russell Wilson in a situation where he's going to have to make some plays. Personally, I think it's kind of like a make or break situation for him, but I do think that he has the right mentality to persevere and fight through whatever challenges he's going to face in this upcoming season to be successful. I don't think he's going to be the number one fantasy quarterback, but I definitely put him in the top 5 argument for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, it's gonna be... Go ahead.
Well, he's a safe bet because, like, he doesn't deal with injuries because he knows how to slide, unlike a lot of other quarterbacks.
He's
like
not going to
Cam
be
Newton.
sitting in the pocket getting blindsided.
Yeah, exactly. So, like, I feel like him and Tom Brady are the safest bets because they just don't get hurt and they're consistent every week. Like, I'd put Tom Brady probably number 5 just because he doesn't have the rushing yards or the rushing touchdowns. But I think Russell Wilson is the safest bet.
So even without any substantial receiving options,
outside of
outside
Baldwin.
of Gronk.
Oh, you're talking.
Oh no, I'm talking about Tom Brady. Yeah, I'm
Okay.
diving into Tom.
All right.
He's got Chris Hogan and Gronk.
Chris who? No, I'm just kidding.
Chris Hogan's
Kidding.
gonna have
Kidding.
a monster year.
Kidding.
But
no, he's
Edelman's
got
coming back.
Gronk,
Yeah.
but- yeah, he's
After
got,
a few
all right.
game
He's
suspension.
got Edelman, so he's got a
He's
core.
got his
He's got a
receivers.
core.
But I mean, if you're talking about that, Russell Wilson,
Just
who does he
not
have
a
past
Tom
Doug
Brady
Baldwin?
fan. I'm
He's
not
got
a
his
Tom
legs.
Brady fan.
he's got his legs, yeah,
Yeah.
but passing yards,
You
you're
might
This
end
gonna
up
dude's
with
gonna,
800
this
or
guy-
900
dude's
rushing
gonna
yards.
maybe average 80 rushing yards a game.
Yeah.
maybe.
That's pushing it. It's definitely pushing it. But I could definitely see Russell Wilson having
I think
a
Russell's better than
record.
Cam.
He's not going
I
to beat
agree.
like Michael Vick's rushing records, but
No.
I could see Russell Wilson putting up some substantial numbers on the rushing side for sure.
The Seahawks, they're not going to have a good team.
And in
Russell
fantasy,
Wilson's going to be their offense.
well, in fantasy football, like rushing yards are easy points.
Yeah.
Like you can run out of bounds, especially as a quarterback. You can slide. You're given much more protections as a quarterback when you're rushing, even though you're supposed to be treated as a runner. They're very cognizant of making the right play, and if he can extend the play, and if it's 3rd and 6, 3rd and 8, and he's got a bootleg out, like he definitely has the legs to make that first down. And if he gains, 6 to 10 yards, that's an easy point, on the plus end. And then he's out there on the next play, ready to throw a 25-yard pass. Who knows? Maybe they're trying to roll that 3rd and 6 into a 1st and 10, and then gun for the end zone on 1st and 10. And all of a sudden, over 3 plays, Russell Wilson's got a nice 10 spot.
Yeah, exactly.
So I mean, we're talking about quarterbacks. We're all in unison in regards to Rodgers, probably, except you, Jordan.
well, he's
About
number
being
2 for me.
Number 1.
So, yeah.
But top 5, I mean, I think we can all agree that Tom Brady, Russell Wilson, and Aaron Rodgers are all top 5.
Oh, well, yeah.
Who are the other two?
Who are the other 2?
Cam
Who else
Newton.
would you throw into the top 5
So we're
category
talking
fantasy
2
wise?
outside of the top 3.
Yeah, we've
On
got
your sheet.
Rodgers.
'Cause
No, I mean like top.
Wilson.
Well, you said you
top
put
3.
Brady top 5.
I put Brady top 5, but
You said
like
5.
my personal top 3 is like Rodgers, Breeze, and Wilson. A lot of people don't want to talk about Drew Brees because
He had a bad year last year for fantasy.
For fantasy.
He had a great year for football.
When you look at
bad
football,
year,
like,
not even a bad
Drew
year.
Brees,
but
He finally had a
fantasy.
defense and a running game.
He is one of the most consistent quarterbacks,
We'll ever
in the
see.
league.
Ever.
period. I mean, like, as much as I hate Phillip Rivers is a great fantasy football quarterback. He's a great NFL quarterback. He just has a terrible defense. And when you go up and score 35 points and still lose, that sucks. It doesn't help you as a quarterback at all. But personally, I think Drew Brees this year is going to have
especially
a
with
top 3 fantasy football year. He's
Oh, yeah.
putting up 5,500 yard passing. I don't want to guarantee it, but I also definitely want to guarantee
especially with the backfield they have in New Orleans. I
Yeah.
mean, Kamara and Ingram are a little scary, and it could shift more focus to that than Breeze.
Yeah. But I mean, going back to what you were talking about as far as the top 5, like Brady is one of my 2 for the top 5, but that brings Breeze up. So
else?
in the realms
At 4?
of that top 5, yeah, I know, is Drew Brees. And slow rolling it, man.
Well, we got
on
1,
that
2,
number-
3, 4, 5 more positions.
Yeah, on that number 5 position, I would say I want to go with Deshaun Watson because this man
He's a breakout.
has something to prove. He was on track for Rookie of the Year last year, got hurt, had an exceptional season up until that point, and I think he was performing better than Carson Wentz when he was on the field.
I was just going to ask. I'm curious to know where Carson Wentz falls for you guys.
If we
That's
knew he
tough
was
for top
healthy,
5.
as of right now, he would be top 5 for sure.
I
If
feel like
he's
it's
in-
a high
if-
risk, high
if it's-
reward.
if
We're
it's
drafting
7th round-
so early, being that we're drafting tomorrow.
If it's 7th round and I've fulfilled 2 running backs, 2 receivers, and a quarterback, if Carson Wentz is there at round 7, I'm taking him for sure.
Even
I would be
even
amazed if
you
he's
He
there.
have
won't
a
be
quarterback,
He's not there at 7.
I don't know.
he might be.
Me personally,
Carson
that's
Wentz,
what I'm
yeah.
saying.
I wouldn't
Wentz,
take him at
Wentz,
7.
Wentz is going to be my backup.
No,
That's
yeah.
what I'm saying.
But who's your starter?
Like an Aaron Rodgers or Drew Brees.
Like everyone else.
But that seems like
For
a
the most
wasted pick though, because
Not
if you
if-
have Aaron Rodgers, he's the guy that you can.
Okay,
just
so
play
so
every
we didn't
week.
really talk about what my first 3 was going to be. So personally, my first 3 rounds goes running back, receiver. If that doesn't work out, if the running back that I want is gone in the 2nd round, then I'm going to go receiver and have someone that is going to be like a Michael Thomas. Someone that's going to get red zone targets. He's going to get 10 targets a game minimum. He's looking for touchdowns and also looking for a 100-yard game. If I can go running back, receiver, running back, then in the 4th round, I'm looking for quarterback, hardcore.
So 4th round is when you're really going to start hunting down a quarterback.
I'm gunning down quarterbacks. in
That
the 4th
seems
round.
so early to me.
Yeah. Like I might take Rodgers or Wilson at the end of the 4th round.
The
Maybe.
reason why I say
Maybe.
this is I want to ensure the fact that I have at least 1 running back, 1 quarterback, 1 receiver that can each individually have the capabilities of putting up a 30-point game. So if you have 3 players, hopefully it all coincides in the same week, put up 30 points, that's 90 points in 1 week, ideally, that you get out of 3 players. Then you have an additional, 6 players, maybe 5, to fill in another 90 points. If you can put up a 180 spot, you're winning for sure.
Okay. So if you're so
And then if you
running-
have a backup like Carson Wentz, like let's say I get Aaron Rodgers in the 4th round, and then let's say I'm going quarterback heavy, and I grab me a Carson Wentz or even a Kirk Cousins in the 7th round. That means whoever my starting quarterback is, if he's having a bad little slump or something, or if I don't like the matchups he's got in the coming weeks, I can plug in a Wentz or a Cousins and try and get me another 30 points.
Honestly,
But-
I mean, good points, but my first backup quarterback would be Phillip. He's always performed.
Oh,
great.
He's
in
a
fantasy.
minimum 30-point fantasy
Oh yeah.
quarterback for sure.
But if you're taking, like, you already have Rodgers and you're taking Wentz in the 7th round, you're missing out on, like, Dion Lewis or
I'm not
Marquise
worried about
Goodwin.
any Dion Lewis. I'll be gunning for James White over Dion Lewis all day.
But having
Good to
two
know.
quarterbacks in the first 7 rounds, like, that seems aggressive on quarterbacks.
And it solidifies my place in the playoff atmosphere as far as fantasy football is concerned.
But you can only play one of them.
And I have 2 great choices on a week-to-week basis.
See, for me,
That's
when
why
I
you got
put
it. Like, the
myself-
bench is very, very scarce.
Well, you're not going to stream Carson Wentz and Aaron Rodgers.
Oh, yeah, I am.
Are
Watch
you?
me.
Okay.
Watch me.
that's a
just-
tricky
that's not my
situation,
strategy.
in my opinion. But
There's too much value in the receiver position to even think about drafting 4 receivers within 7 rounds.
But there's too much value in wide receivers.
No, that's what I'm saying. You can
Yeah.
grab some great value in the 10th and 11th round at receiver.
But if you already have Aaron Rodgers, why do you need Carson Wentz when you could get a great value?
so
out
he
of
can
Wentz?
Because that
stress
takes
himself
away
out
from the
every
rest of
week
the
picking
league.
Who to play.
Why would I give you an extra quarterback to use against me?
I don't like if I got Marcus Mariota and Alex Smith to stream every week, and I get them in the 10th and the 12th
So
round.
you're
I'm fine
streaming
with
a
that.
quarterback every week. What
I'm
if
fine
I
with
have
that.
a quarterback 1 on my bench? That's one less quarterback 1 that I have to worry about, that I have to play against.
But you can only play one of them.
Yeah, and the other one's on my bench and not scoring points against me.
I'd rather just have one quarterback one and just stick with that for the season.
So what if you had 2 quarterback 1s and then you also had receivers that you could stream that might get you a minimum of 10 to 15 points?
Well, I'm fine with streaming receivers, but I'd rather not do that because I can play 3 because I got
So you
2.
want 2 solid receivers to get you a minimum 15 to 20 each week.
Because they can play each week.
The quarterback can't play each week?
Not 2 quarterbacks.
Not
2
3 quarterbacks.
2 receivers can play each
Yeah.
week, but
Yeah.
not 2 quarterbacks.
So speaking
But your
on
quarterback's the way.
receivers,
Yeah, go for it.
I love you, Gideon.
just shifting gears a little bit and focusing on that position specifically, who are your go-to guys at receiver? If you're lucky and you're able to kind of snag one of your top picks at receiver, who are you eyeballing?
Miles?
Go to the guy with no draft.
Wait, so the top 2 quarterback or wide receivers? That
I
you
mean,
might
I
get?
think
Are we talking
Antonio
like
Brown is a
overall,
pretty,
or are we
like-
talking?
Well, like, are we
Just
talking
overall.
like first 2 quarterbacks that we would take?
Like,
if
wide
we took it-
receivers.
Your
or
first
receivers,
wide
sorry.
receiver. Who's your first wide receiver going? Like,
Mm,
go with your
mean-
draft strategy. If you're going running back first round, look at your second round. Like,
well, I think
obviously
I've
you're
already
not getting
mentioned that
AB
I don't
in
have
the
a
second
draft
round.
strategy yet. I have not formulated any of that
All right,
yet.
well, we're working through it.
So yeah, exactly. That's a tough decision because the NFL has definitely become a lot more pass happy. It's kind of evened out over the last couple of years. It was pass happy in a ridiculous manner. 3-4 years ago, when Peyton broke the records. But I'd say I mean you can't top receiver. You can't go away from AB or DeAndre. In
Yeah,
my opinion,
1 and 2. Yeah.
1, 2,
Like, they're
easy.
first rounders.
Easy.
Julio?
Julio, I think,
has
is on the bubble.
broken
I think
my
he'd be on the
heart
bubble.
So much.
If Julio's available, first 4 picks of the second round, I would take him.
You have to take. I think you
You'd
have
have to, yeah.
You have to.
But
There is a possibility of getting OBJ and Julio on the turn. Like, if you have the 12th
Ooh.
pick,
if you're 12
they're-
and then 1,
yeah.
that's not a
I
bad.
would do that
That's
all
not bad.
day. I would do that all day.
I would take OBJ over Julio.
But that
Me
you're
too.
also you're
Just
missing
because
out on
Julio and I
Leonard
have a
Fournette and
sorted
Melvin Gordon,
fantasy
I know,
football pass.
who are each been shown to be
He
good
has
receiving
betrayed me.
running backs.
Yeah.
But speaking about wide receivers specifically, and no other position, do you guys have any sleepers? Anybody that you're looking in the late draft, in the late rounds, that
Well-
can come off the bench, maybe plug into your flex, or be that star receiver on a possible bye week?
So, like, sleeper would be Marquise Goodwin with the 49ers.
With
like
Gronk.
he's
Jimmy G.
He's probably going at like the mid rounds right now. But like he's like a freakish athlete. Like I think he's gonna have a breakout year. It's like he's my.
I think
sleeper.
Edelman's gonna come back hungry.
Yeah. Oh, that's a good point.
I mean, he's suspended for what, 4 games? The first 4? First.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know
Yeah.
how
Yeah.
long, but yeah. Well, and Sanders, he's going really late right now.
He is. He's going really late. And it seems that at this point, just from the Broncos standpoint, he has the most natural chemistry with Case Keenum. So I think Sanders, being that we're drafting with a whole bunch of other Denver fans, I don't think he'll go as late as he's projected in all of these national,
right,
projections. But he'd be an interesting one to just keep an eye on. I've heard to keep an eye on Cameron Meredith via Kay Adams, my spirit animal, on Good Morning Football. I don't know though, sleeper wise. Like I feel like wide receivers run pretty deep that I don't know many that I would actually qualify as sleepers that I have in mind.
Oh, my sleeper would probably be Jarvis Landry. Obviously a wide receiver 2 for sure, but flirting with that wide receiver 1 position as far as fantasy football is concerned. I think Tyrod Taylor is going to have a good season this year with the Browns. I think the Browns are going to finally see some kind of resurgence within their production, especially compared with the last 2 seasons, only winning a single game. But I think they really do have their ducks in a row, and I think they're ready to compete. And I haven't been worried about the Browns, like, just as a football fan in general for the last, since I was like 10. But now it's like, all right, the Browns have some pieces, and if they can put them together, they can definitely fight for a playoff spot. Like, they might look at a wild card position if they do the right things. And if the right things happen, I think Jarvis Landry is going to be the main benefactor from receiving Tyrod Taylor's increase in production. I don't think the Bills utilized Tyrod's entire talent, and I think the Browns are open to giving him, full reins of the team. And there's a lot of uncertainty across the board when it comes to running backs and receivers. Njoku's got the tight end spot pretty much on lock for the Browns, but Tyrod's going to have to make plays, and he's going to have a great season compared with the Bills. And
well, he's
for me, the sleeper is Jarvis Landry. He's going to be the guy, especially in a PPR league, that's going to be grabbing, 6 to 8 catches a game. That's 6 points, 8 points. And then if he's taking them upfield, that's 0.1 for every single yard. And if he scores a touchdown, even better. So I could see Jarvis Landry grabbing 15 points a game this year as an average. Obviously, he might drop below that or go, might have a 30-point game. But if you can grab Jarvis Landry in, late 4th round, early 5th round, I say go for it, and you'll be good. But if he slips to the 6th round, maybe 7th round, and you see him on your board, I think you have to grab Jarvis Landry for sure.
Well, like, I heard he might be playing on the outside instead of the slot with the Browns. It's like, do you think that would affect his production? Because he's never played on the outside.
I mean, from what I've seen from Landry in Miami and from what I've seen just from Hard Knocks, I guess, he puts in the proper work to being a good receiver. I don't think he is necessarily tied to being a slot specialist and coming out of going in motion or being in the backfield. I think he's definitely got the talent to square up with the cornerback and beat the cornerback and show Tyrod that, hey, I can give you an open option even if it is 10 inches. Put the ball right here and I'm gonna grab it.
His hands are so good. Just throw it to him and he'll find a way to catch it.
He's really quick too.
Yeah.
So it comes down to route running and mechanics, and I think Jarvis Landry has all of that. I mean, his athleticism definitely isn't up to par with, you know, your standard elite wide receiver. He's a little on the shorter side. I think he's like 5'10 or 5'11, but he's got the route running, he's got the quickness, and he's got the hands. And for a quarterback, that's all you need. So that's why Jarvis Landry is my sleeper.
I mean, the only thing else you could ask for is, on top of that would be the hops.
He can get up there.
Well, yeah, I mean, if you're like a
42-inch
plus vertical.
But if you're only 5'10", like, you got to go. But that's the nice thing about going up against backs. There's no 6'6" cornerbacks.
There's a few 6'1", 6'2" quarterbacks.
You don't have to.
Yeah.
But 2 inches.
That's
when your vertical is 4 inches higher than who you're going up against. Like that's
what's their vertical?
That's same. It all matched week to week matchups.
Yeah.
You gotta look at this. If you want to be a championship fantasy player, you have to break down your individual positional matchups week to week and know which players are going to produce to their maximum of what you have. Obviously, you got to worry about who your opponent has, but sometimes you got to bite the bullet and throw in that player that might put up a goose egg, and
that
you take the loss. But then if you put them in and then they put up 30 points, then you win. So
I mean, you had that with Flash Gordon last year, a couple games, right?
I mean, he never put up 30 points, but I had
15, 20.
I had him riding my bench for the most of the part of this season because I knew he was going to produce. And the games that he did play in, I think his lowest side was like maybe 6 points or 8 points, but his plus side was like 18. So I knew he was going to be able to be a consistent receiver. Granted that I grabbed him off the waiver wire and I had a spot on my bench. And my starting lineup was solidified. So for me, it was a no risk and all reward situation to grab Josh Gordon last year. This year, it's a little bit of a different situation. We don't really know what's going on with Josh Gordon. Some people think he's avoiding the whole Hard Knocks film crew and just not trying to be a piece of the drama.
But if that's the case, I respect him for that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. But, I mean, there's a lot of questions that people have for him, I'm sure, and he might not want to be put in those positions, or he might not even be in the right mental state to be put in that position. But he's definitely a freak athlete, and he's a great football player, and it sounds like he's doing the right things to making sure that he can stay on the field as an NFL player. So as long as he's able to start week 1, I would keep an eye on him. But at this point, he is not on my draft board.
Yeah. One, like, he was the guy that, like, he struggled with alcoholism and drug addiction and still was one of the best wide receivers in the league. Like, this is before we found out all the issues that he had.
Yeah.
It's like, imagine if he's sober. Like, what he could do.
Yeah, he admitted, like, there was some games that he was taking shots in the locker room before the game started. So he would put up 150 yards receiving drunk or high. And that's insane. So now that the fact that, you know, I believe him, that he's stayed sober and he's doing the right things. He's probably staying away from training camp to making sure that he doesn't bring any additional drama to the team and making sure that the team can still grow even though he's not there. We all know that he can be an exceptional receiver. Yeah. Now, does he have that kind of chemistry with Tyrod or Baker Mayfield? We will see. Maybe he's so good that the chemistry is not even a problem.
Well, that's for any player on the Browns because they're both new quarterbacks too.
Yeah. But, I mean, moving forward, I think a lot of these mock drafts have Gordon going in, like, the 6th round, 7th round. And I still think that's too early. Yeah. Like I said, like, I'm going to grab me a top-tier quarterback in the 7th round. So, for me, like, the only way I'm considering drafting Josh Gordon is after round 10. If he's on the board after round 10, I'm all in. but I think there's way more consistent options available at the 6th round, at the 7th round. As much as I've kind of shit on DT, Demaryius Thomas, the last few weeks on his drops, I'll take Demaryius Thomas in the 6th round, 7th round, way over Josh Gordon.
Yeah, and I
sure.
think that's where DT's going.
Yeah,
the 6th round.
But it's mind blowing to think that a man who has been in and out of the league multiple times is going in the same fantasy rounds as Demaryius Thomas, who's been playing pretty consistently over the last almost 10 years.
He's kept his nose clean too.
And kept his nose clean.
So,
but we're talking fantasy
Miles,
football.
Did we get your sleeper yet, Miles?
Yeah, mine was Edelman. I think he's
Okay,
going to come
that's
back
right.
hungry. But shifting gears a little bit, coming from the air going to the ground, it's very possible that the first round is stocked full of at least maybe 10 running backs coming off the board. I mean, Jordan, you said you're going to be definitely running back heavy, and I think that's
out of 12
a general
man league,
consensus.
You're saying 10,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, exactly. Out of 12, maybe probably 9 or 10. It's very possible. Now, I don't think
There
that
could
that's-
be 3 receivers.
Yeah, I don't think
but,
it's
like,
actually going to be
you're
10,
right, you're right.
but
It's going to be close.
it's
At least 8.
Yeah, 'cause- well, I mean, the
I
only
wouldn't say it's feasible 100%, but it's possible that every player except one is a running back. And that
I
one
think
player
I
would
think
be
the
AD,
only
but-
Yeah.
sure like wide receivers taken the first round would be Brown and Hopkins. Like
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
would be the only
For sure.
first round
OBJ,
picks. Maybe
right on the
maybe,
fringe.
right?
There's always that
But-
rookie who's gonna take Gronk the first round. There's always somebody.
yeah, I mean, you gotta also
There
know
is
your
always
league.
somebody.
Like, if you're in a hardcore league where everyone knows their shit, then yeah, it's gonna be tight. But if you're in a pretty casual league, someone's taking OBJ number 3 or number 4.
Right.
Like, it's gonna happen.
Right.
And I don't think that's necessary. And I think there's some people that might even take AJ Green in the first round.
Ooh,
No.
third round.
But-
Third round.
Third round. But no, I mean,
you're
that's,
right.
that's why, we have these conversations and discussions just to see what other people are thinking and to pick their brains on what kind of strategies other people have.
I do want to ask you guys, where would you take LaShawn McCoy with his situation right now?
I mean, right now
This-
he's in no legal trouble. So,
Yeah.
Well, he's going through the
mock
court
draft.
case.
What's his ADP?
I think it's 4th round, 3rd or 4th round.
Mid, third,
And
fourth.
yeah,
Yeah, like
and
late
will the commissioner's exempt list has nothing to do with the legal process. So there is the possibility that the commissioner could say you cannot play until your trial is over.
there's also zero evidence against LaShawn McCoy that he
Yeah.
had anything to deal with that incident.
All right, so let's.
So,
this
like,
is,
where
this
would
is,
you
this is
take him?
fantasy. This is fantasy,
Yeah.
right? Fantasy football. Let's say fantasy wise, legally, he's in no trouble. Start of the season.
Like right now, legally and
Well, yeah, let's since I'm
No,
dragging
like,
sports-
it's
reprimandally,
cleared.
like he's playing the full season.
No, it's cleared. There's no
Like
Like
Miles
the- like
said,
the-
this is fantasy.
this is fantasy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're talking fantasy. I would put him top 10 running back for sure.
like if he's
the only reason
playing all 16 games.
yes,
Okay.
the only reason I say that is because of AJ McCarron's hairline fracture in his collarbone. They've got Rosen and Peterman as their other quarterbacks. Rosen's not really ready. I mean, they played tonight, I believe, right? And when we were looking at the stats, he was 9 of 30. Now it's still preseason, still.
Not pretty.
I mean, but that is not pretty.
No.
That's laughable.
I almost would. It pains me to say this, but I would almost, and this is not 100%, but almost take Paxton over.
Sorry.
Whoa.
The only reason I would say almost is because Rosen has a laser rocket arm, like almost to definition. I mean, he can zip that ball.
Yeah.
He definitely needs to produce a little bit more and show consistency, but I would say LaShawn would be a top 10.
If he were to play all 16 games, I would put him as my number 5 running back.
Number 5 in a PPR league for sure.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
because like that's what he does. He catches balls, and he's the Bills' offense. It's
All right,
kind
so
of
not Rosen. Who's the
Allen.
Josh Allen?
Oh, the other
That's
Josh.
There's a lot of Joshes.
There's a lot of them.
Too many Joshes.
Getting acclimated to the new rooks.
So
Well-
Josh Allen was 9 for 30.
Josh Allen plays for the Bills.
Yeah, but it's between him
Roses
and
for
Peterman,
the
right?
Cardinals.
Yes. Rosen
Yes.
plays for the Cardinals.
Okay. I had that.
Well,
mixed
like,
up
But I mean,
too.
LaShawn McCoy is like Russell Wilson to me, where the offense goes through
He's
him.
gonna be the workhorse.
Yeah, like everything they do offensively is gonna
Running,
go through him.
passing.
What their top receiving option is Kelvin Benjamin in Buffalo, and Charles
Kelvin
Clay
Benjamin's a
at
joke.
tight end.
It's not pretty on the receiving options.
No.
Like Shady
So-
McCoy is gonna be the go-to.
So I would put him after my top 4 running backs as my number.
So are
5.
you
Yeah.
grabbing
So you'd
in
put him
You
above
thought he was
Kamara,
playing
fourth round,
Oh, yeah.
fifth round?
Barkley? Oh yeah, I would take him.
Kareem
If
Hunt?
I had the 5th overall pick and I knew that he would play all season, I would take him number 5. Well, no, that's not true.
LaShawn
I
McCoy?
would take Antonio Brown and then LaShawn McCoy. So number 6.
Okay.
Number 6.
So if you're number 6 pick, you're taking LaShawn McCoy. That's
If-
a bold statement.
If
It's
it
a
was
bold
guaranteed
statement.
that he would play all
Which
season,
it's totally not.
and that's why I'm not.
Knowing the
touching him.
NFL, he could be suspended 1 game. He could
Mm.
be suspended 8 games.
Oh,
Yeah.
Roger Goodell, get your
7.5
lights together.
games for all we know.
Yes.
For
So you
love
can
of
play
God.
a half.
You can play a
So,
half.
like,
We
knowing-
decided just
knowing-
now.
Knowing
Finish the
this
first half and then
No,
you're suspended.
you don't play the first and fourth quarter. You play the middle two.
Second and third.
Yeah, second and third.
New rule.
Yeah.
To kind of wrap things up with a bit of a silly question, considering we are in a hardcore Broncos fan dominated league, how early do you think someone's going to jump the shark and draft the Broncos defense tomorrow?
I give
Are we
Round
talking?
6.
Are we talking in our draft?
In our draft,
In our
I'm
draft.
talking-
specifically.
I think round 6, someone takes them.
I
I'm
give it
thinking-
round 5.
I think 8. They're going to be the first defense.
Somebody
taken.
jumps. Someone always jumps
I'm thinking
so
8.
early. I'm giving
I could
it round
see it going
5.
early. I mean, if somebody gets their top running back, quarterback, receiver, and either a tight end or any of the top 3 positions, yeah, I could definitely see top 5, round 5 or 6 for sure.
All right, let's all pick a round, put $1 on it. Whoever wins.
$1 on round
All right,
5.
I'll write it down.
I'm gonna go
Gideon
8.
is taking minutes
So,
on the
Alyssa,
bet.
round 5.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm gonna go 8.
Jordan
Nice,
is
Jordan.
8.
6.
Miles round 6. And, I'll be the ugly duckling, and I'm going to say round 10.
Oh.
All right.
The
And
Broncos
if
go.
we're all wrong, then I get the $4.
Winner takes all?
That's how
Winner
it
takes
works.
all.
If we're all
Obviously.
wrong, the $4 go in the beer money jar. So we will definitely circle back with you guys, let you know how it pans out tomorrow for the 4 of us in our draft and the league as a whole. Fantasy football is upon us, my friends. I'm sure you all have a lot of drafts coming up. Have a lot of fun with it. Be smart, be safe. And please tune in to our other regular 5280 podcasts. You can follow us on Facebook and Instagram at 5280 Film Room or shoot us an email at 5280filmroom@gmail.com. This has been our Fantasy Football Podcast. Bye.
Laters.
Peace.
Peace.